Hey guys, this is Rajesh Trivedi from Alert. Alert is an NGO that works towards a better emergency response ecosystem, marching steadily towards the goal given for it by the former President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, who said one in every family needs to be trained in emergency care so that common people like you and I can feel empowered to save lives. In the previous episode, we saw a couple of common medical emergencies, and in this episode, we're going to see one or two more, which are very common that happens in our day-to-day life. Imagine, we are sitting across the table and having food, and you would have experienced somebody suddenly choking over food. While the person chokes, what happens is some particle, a hard object, a hard particle goes into the mouth and obstructs the airway and makes it difficult for the air to get inside or even anything else to come out. Now, that's a very dangerous situation to be in, and it has been proven to be a silent killer unless and until immediate steps are taken to relieve the victim of the pain caused because of choking. Now, the universal sign of choking, anybody when they choke, you will find that they will be having one of their hands, just as shown here, on their neck, and trying to reach out to somebody to call them. Now, that tells us that the person is choking. So you rush to him, you place one hand on the chest of the victim, bend him over, and use your other hand to give him 5 thrusts underneath the shoulder blades for 5 times. And while doing that, ensure that the victim's mouth is open so that if the particle gets dislodged, it can fall out. Even if then the particle does not get dislodged, then what you do is to walk behind the person, place one of your legs in between the legs of the victim, and take your arms underneath the victim's arms, and a little above the belly button, use your fist to give something called the abdominal thrust. It is nothing but pushing fast and hard on the, just above the belly button in the abdomen, so that the person starts feeling a sense of pressure coming from within, from underneath the stomach, so that he can probably get induced to cough or even sometimes puke that will dislodge the particle. Now, this is famously called Heimlich maneuver. And ensure that even after this, in case the particle is not dislodged, never ever attempt to put your finger in or use some other equipment to pull the particle out, because there you run the risk of pushing the particle furthermore inside, causing more harm. Now, this is when you are trying to help and providing Heimlich maneuver to somebody other than you. Now, supposing you are yourself choking, right, and nobody is around you to help. In that case, how can you give Heimlich maneuver to yourself? Is you still need to give the abdominal thrust, but now you look for, probably the chair of the dining hall or a slab or a table against which you can go and apply pressure yourself in the abdominal region, just above the belly button. Continuously do that for a few times until you get a sensation to cough or to puke, so that the particle can be dislodged. Now, will the same thing work? Will the same way of giving Heimlich maneuver work for a pregnant woman? No, certainly not, and you shouldn't take that risk either to do it this way. Instead of abdominal thrust, what is recommended to be done is, give the thrust at the chest level itself, exactly at the point where there is a V point on the chest. So it is not just above the belly button, it is even above that, right on the chest. You give the thrust for a pregnant lady. The same holds good for an obese person. Give this for a couple of times until the person gets a sensation to cough or to puke, so that the particle can be dislodged. Now, what happens if the choking happens for an infant? More often than not it does, because the infant could possibly start swallowing some small objects that it gets hand into. Now, you sit comfortably on a chair and hold the infant by the chest, and invert the infant upside down, and you hold them on your thighs. Sit down, and on your thighs hold the infant, and use your palm to give 5 gentle blows behind, under the shoulder blades, behind the infant, and turn the infant over okay, as you are sitting on your thighs, and just use 2 fingers to find the center of the chest, and you give 5 compressions. And when you say compressions, it probably would not go beyond half an inch or 1 inch maximum. Continue to do that, 5 compressions, and then turn the infant back over and give 5 blows from the behind. So 5 blows from the behind, turn the infant, 5 compressions on the chest. Continue to keep doing this until the infant feels feels like coughing or puking, and gets the particle outside the system. In the meantime, you call for the ambulance, and when the ambulance arrives, rush to the doctor for any other further help. In either of these cases, after providing the Heimlich maneuver, if the victim goes unconscious, then you start what is called the basic life support procedure. And we will learn more about the BLS procedure in the next episode. Until then, stay tuned for it. In the meantime, we will now learn what is called rescue techniques. If at all you need to be shifting the victim from place A to place B, you need to move the person from one location this episode, you learned how to handle choking and also learned some very basic rescue techniques that you can effectively use if you were to move a victim from location A to location B. In the coming episode, you're going to be learning something very basic, very fundamental to emergency care management called basic life support. So do not miss it. Until I see you around in the next episode, stay tuned.